Stand on today's afternoon show, Manchester United block a Jadon Sancho return. David Ornstein, Chris Wheeler saying it would be possible that Chelsea do not take Jadon Sancho permanently and they might pay a fee to get out of that contract of Sancho moving to Chelsea permanently. Manchester United do not want Sancho back at all. We will get into that. There's still people talking about how he could thrive in one of them Amorim number 10 spots. Well, I tell you what, it's like you know, that family member that's still holding on to the hairline. They're the people that are still holding on to Jadon Sancho potentially being a good Manchester United player. He's been here before. He's shown that he's not up to it. He's also done a few things that have really rubbed United fans up the wrong way. The people that are still holding out for Sancho to make it as a number 10, he'd make it as a right-sided 10 under Amorim. Stop holding on to it. It's been and gone. You know, it's like, just shave it off, go bald, do it. It's not going to happen. Jadon Sancho is getting blocked from a return to Manchester United. Hojlund's been speaking about Amorim's plans for him and the stuff that maybe, you know, fans don't see when they're watching it. The stuff that Hojlund has to get involved in different areas of play to help Amorim's system thrive and how he's continuing to develop on that. Really interesting stuff from him. And I also just want to talk a little bit as well about the number 10 roles at Manchester United. Looking towards the summer, we're definitely going to get one in. I think we could also get two in. It's going to be an area of Manchester United's squad that is definitely going to get rejuvenated in the summer. Get your comments in. Let me know your thoughts. Also, on this Monday afternoon, happy St Patrick's Day to all those who are celebrating, my Irish people. St Patrick's Day today, get a Guinness. It's 3 o'clock somewhere, isn't it? Get a Guinness. Happy St Patrick's Day, but let's get into the show. So this is coming from a tier 1 source in Fabrizio Romano, and it is coming out that Manchester United have been clear. They do not want Jadon Sancho back in their squad. So Chris Wheeler and David Ornstein have been speaking in the last week, basically saying that there is a clause in the Jadon Sancho contract to Chelsea in the obligation to buy that Chelsea could pay a penalty fee to get out of the obligation to buy Jadon Sancho for 25 million. Now, Chelsea paying 25 million for Jadon Sancho, that is an unbelievable deal for Manchester United because Jadon Sancho, for me, is not a £25 million player. I don't think he's doing that well at Chelsea. I think his attitude isn't right, and I think that's one good things that Erik ten Hag did was getting Jadon Sancho out of Manchester United. I think I've said it multiple times. I think he's an extremely talented player, but I don't think his talent has been nurtured in the way to get the best out of him, and I don't think he's done enough for himself to get the best out of his talent. I don't want him back at Manchester United. But Chelsea could pay a fee. We don't know how much this fee is. You would suspect it would be quite significant to get out of that obligation of 25 million. And Chelsea have to pay that if they're in the top 14 of the table, which they are going to do. They've gone through some rocky form, but somehow still in around the top 4. Like, that's how interesting the Premier League is and how many teams in the Premier League are losing games left, right and centre. I mean, the Premier League is so open at the top this year. So Chelsea are going to have to pay the 25 million for Jadon Sancho unless they pay a significant penalty fee. But even if they did pay a significant penalty fee, and this is where this news comes into it, with Fabrizio Romano saying that Manchester United do not want Jadon Sancho, they've made it clear that they do not want him back in the squad, that he would just be moved on again. I don't know what kind of money for. His contract is up next season. He couldn't go out on loan. So if Chelsea don't pay the 25 million and they do pay the fee to get out of it, we'll get that fee, but we'll also have to sell him on again. Maybe it'll be on the cheap. I don't know how it'd happen, what money he'd go for, but there would be people interested. With a year left on his contract, at a smaller fee, I think Manchester United would take pretty much anything for him in the summer. He will be moved on and he will leave the football club. So everybody out there who was saying Amorim might want to use him, or, you know, Amorim he'd cook in that 10 role, Don't get me wrong, I think his attributes are probably best suited to like that left-sided 10 role in an Amorim system. I think they are. But Ruben Amorim is all about attitude. Ruben Amorim is all about mentality. Ruben Amorim is all about behaviours. I mean, he got rid of Marcus Rashford as quick as he could. And for me, Marcus Rashford, yeah, he had some issues in terms of maybe his behaviours off the pitch and how that was affecting his football when he was at Manchester United. But I think Jadon Sancho is a lot worse in that area of things. You know, consistently late throughout his time at Manchester United. Rumours of him being late at Dortmund. Rumours about issues in the England camp as well. Like, there's no smoke without fire. Chelsea, Maresca, he's apparently a big fan of him. happy as Larry. I hope he does well. Do you know what I mean? Like, go out there and stay at Chelsea. But for Manchester United, as much as his attributes probably do suit the Amorim system, it's not going to happen. He's not coming back to Manchester United. And I think it's really good that we've got clarification on that now, because despite the fact that Jaden Sancho has, for me, disrespected the badge and disrespected the club, there is some people out there that want to see him back in a United shirt and playing under Amorim and think a fresh start could be the one for Sancho. But now we know that is not going to happen. I can't believe there's fans out there that actually want him back in a United shirt. It's not happening, but actually want to see him work under Amorim. I mean, he literally commented freedom on Marcus Rashford's post when he left the club to go to Aston Villa. Hugely disrespectful. And the United fans applauded him back after having months off football, and they treated him with so much love, and he got such a warm reception at Old Trafford. And I just don't think he's ever really repaid that back to the Manchester United fans, and I don't think he understands what it means to be a Manchester United player. So, yeah, I mean, I did see this circling on Twitter and it made me laugh. I mean, would you want this? It's obviously not going to happen. We're talking about in a different dimension here, a different sort of world. Chelsea and Manchester United play each other at Wembley Stadium at the end of the season. Whoever loses the game has to keep Sancho for next season. I mean, would you turn up and watch that one? I mean, you'd be playing for your life on that, wouldn't you? But yeah, since Jaden Sancho's comment to Marcus Rashford about freedom, 12 games, 0 goals, 0 assists, 1 shot on target, and he's failed to get a single goal in 18 games. And failed to have a shot on target in 11 Premier League matches this year. Arsenal, Leicester, Southampton, Aston Villa, Brighton, West Ham, Man City, Wolves, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Ipswich. Jaden Sancho has failed to have a shot on target in all of them Premier League games this year. So, I mean, you can comment freedom all day long, but if you're going to comment something like that, that is going to obviously rile up the fan base, you've got to back it up on the pitch. And he's just not done that. I know I'd have Ricky in the comments say it's not all about goals, it's not all about assists, but you've got to sort of contribute. You've got to kind of show everyone what you're made of, and I just don't think he's done that. So Manchester United have made it clear Sancho will not be back, so we can put an end to that, and he's not coming back to the club, which means we definitely are going to have to invest in the number 10 roles at Manchester United. Get in the comments, because I'm going to circle back to this towards the end of the show and get my thoughts in as well. Comments in, super chats in. Who would be your ideal number 10s to bring in to Manchester United in the summer? We're definitely going to sign one. We're going to have to. Will we sign two? The reason why I'm thinking we might actually sign two is because obviously wing-backs is such a specialised position in the Amorim system. Dorgu is the perfect example of what you need to be a wing-back in the Amorim system. So that's where you get your pace from the wings, but you also, in an Amorim system, it's Sporting anyway, you'd have one kind of like, creative 10, you'd have one that was maybe a bit more of a winger, so you'd have one like, I don't know, a Joshua Zirkzee, and then one like an Alejandro Garnacho who, you know, has got that pace, can stretch defences. But, you know, both of them players, they've got different attributes, and maybe they're not completely specialised to the system, and there's not always just going to be a player out there that has every single attribute to suit the system perfectly. You know, your system's got to work to have, you know, some broader attributes in there. But I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, Marcus Rashford's going to go. I really hope Villa do sign him for 40 million. I think he looks happy there. He's doing reasonably well. He's got back into the England squad. For me, I think it's a no-brainer for Marcus Rashford to stay at Aston Villa. So I hope they sign him. And if they sign Asensio as well, them two work really well together, it seems. That's Asensio, by the way. It's another. Why weren't United all over that in January? We had no money, but the loan market, Asensio looks like an absolute bargain for Aston Villa. He's killing it. He looks like a player. I always knew like he was a player, but wow, he's doing really well. But as I was saying, Marcus Rashford's going to go. Jaden Sancho is going to go. He's not coming back, whether Chelsea take him or not. Anthony is probably going to go. And there's big rumours still that Alejandro Garnacho, Manchester United might cash in on him from a PSR perspective. And there's also that debate for the money you're going to get for Alejandro Garnacho, which would be around £50 to £55 million, probably at least. is there better players out there that fit this system more than he does that you can invest into? So that's 4 winger type profiles that can play in them 10 spots that are going to be leaving the football club. We're absolutely going to buy a 10, but I think we could end up buying 2 because Bruno Fernandes, I think Amorim has made it clear that he prefers him in that deeper role, and I think that's where he's going to settle in the Amorim system, especially as he moves into the twilight years of his career. That's usually what happens anyway with attacking midfielders. They usually drop back a bit, and Bruno had spoken about it even before Amorim came in, that he's seen himself dropping back in the future years. And everyone was saying, you know, Bruno is one of our best players, but what is his actual position in his Amorim system? And I think in that pivot role is probably where Amorim sees him best suited to. So I'm looking at the 10 positions. Mainu, is he a 10? We don't absolutely know yet, because he was kind of just getting into the swing of things under Amorim and then he got injured. But I'm not sure if he's a pivot player in the Amorim system, to be honest with you. Amorim said he struggles a little bit with the defensive work and, you know, maybe getting around the pitch as well as you need to in that area. And so is Mainu going to be a 10? Xerxes, he sees as more of a 10. Ahmad, is he going to be a 10 or is he going to be a wing back? I personally think a wing back, especially if we're not going for Kenda and we're not looking in the right wing back market. I think Ahmad literally suits the wing back position in Amorim's system perfectly. He's fantastic there, absolutely unbelievable. I think he's had his best games there for Manchester United. So you're looking around, you're thinking, you're going to need a 10. Mason Mount, you can't rely on him to stay fit. So it's an area that Manchester United are massively going to target in the summer. You've got some chats coming in, and Julian S says, less than a year ago you wanted him back after his performance against PSG in the Champions League. Just give it his next good performance and you'll change your mind. I've not wanted Jadon Sancho back at Manchester United since he's left the club. So I don't know who you're talking about there, but it definitely isn't me. I mean, if you've watched my 2 PM shows, you will know that I wanted Jaden Sancho to go, and I wanted him to go as in the summer as well. I've not wanted him back, so that isn't me. Mac Murder says, Mainu, Xerxes, Ahmad and Garnacho all for the 10s. And you have Shahid saying there's no way Ruben will accept the sale of Garnacho. I honestly think he would. I think he would. Like, Garnacho's improving, yeah, but you can get better. You can get better in them roles, you can. As much as I like him, in that specific position, you can get better. Especially if you're going to get 50 to 55 million of pure profit that you can invest back into the squad. I think he would accept the sale. Hector Aquino says, Beth, you're a great host. Keep up the good work. And you have Single Boys official saying, Mount will show comeback and recover as a good player and prove us wrong. Mark my words, next year he will be the MVP. I think if if Mount could actually stay fit, he would grab one of them number 10 spots, because I think he's a quality player if he can get himself back to where he was. But we've not seen Mason Mount be the Mason Mount we all knew and thought was a good footballer for years. We've not seen it in a United shirt, and I think when you suffer with that amount of long-term injuries, I struggle to see him ever staying fit over the course of a season. I think his body will just break down again. So I've let go of Mount ever being an option for us long term, to be honest with you. Desire Labonte says, I'll take Kudus or Kangin Lee over Cunha, Ahmad, right wing back. Over Cunha, Ahmad, right wing back. Interesting. I've said multiple times, and I'll say it again, I envision our right-hand side being Ahmad right wing back and Mbeumo right-sided 10. I think Mbeumo would rip it up. He's fantastic in the Premier League, and you know, he's 25. He's the perfect age. A Premier League proven player that can score goals. He's hungry. He's athletic. He's such a hard worker. His manager speaks super highly of him in Thomas Frank. You can tell he's got, from that you can tell his attitude right, and I think he was underrated when Ivan Toney was here, to be honest, because Ivan Toney got all the limelight. But since Ivan Toney's moved on, Mbeumo has massively stepped up and he's finally got his flowers. I think Mbeumo would be the sort of signing that Manchester United could go for. I think Cunha is another one that I really like, that left-sided 10 role. He's sort of like left winger, striker / midfielder. He can play multiple different positions. You could play him up front if you needed to. In the Amorim system, I see him as a left-sided 10. And a lot of people maybe would say he's had this many red cards. Is his attitude right? I think he's a big fish in a small pond. I think if he got to a club like Manchester United, where he was hopefully, I mean, I can't really say much, we're only a little bit ahead of Wolves in the table right now, but when you got to a club like Manchester United in the direction that we're planning to go in, under Ruben Amorim, which is competing and is playing at the highest level, you would see a different Cunha on that side of things. And also, I would much rather a player who has the bite in him and has the dog in him and has that hunger to win than someone who doesn't know what it means to, put on the United shirt and doesn't give everything on the pitch. Cunha, okay, the red card side of the game, he does need to be more disciplined and he needs to control his temper a little bit more. But also at the same time, when I watch him for Wolves, he covers every blade of grass. He gives everything. His work rate is fantastic. I think he's someone I would like to see in a United shirt. And we've had players before that have a bit of arrogance about them and can be hot-headed sometimes, but sometimes they make the best players. You need a balance in a team and you need players that are going to go out there and fight for everything, and Cunha would definitely give that. Mirza Nurik says we need a top midfielder. Camavinga would be available in the summer. I keep hearing about Camavinga's availability. I still look back on that summer when we were about to sign Camavinga from Rennes for, was it around 30 million euros, 25 million pounds? We didn't end up doing it because we got Ronaldo. I love Ronaldo more than anything in the world, but us missing out on Camavinga was the biggest dropping of the ball I've seen. He is absolute quality. He can play in multiple different positions. I mean, I've seen him play right back fantastically well, but he is, that deep line midfielder, and he's fantastic. The issue is he's not coming to Manchester United in the summer, even if he is available. He's just not. I mean, I've seen reports saying City are interested in him and City are looking at him. That'd be a brilliant signing for them. You've got to understand where we are. We are in the bottom half of the table. If we get Champions League football, it makes us a much more attractive proposition to a lot of players. But players like Camavinga, who are going to cost you an arm and a leg and just are looking it going into a team where you are ready to win trophies now, we're not going to be able to attract them sort of players. And I've seen people say, will Mbeumo really want to come to us? Would Cunha actually come to us? I think we could get them players. I do think we could. Brentford and Wolves players. There will be other teams interested, of course, because they are, killing it in the Premier League. The top performers in the Premier League. There's going to be other clubs interested. Talk of Arsenal being interested in Cunha, but I think Arteta was slightly put off by the amount of red cards and potentially, that side of things. And Mbeumo has apparently got a lot of fans in the Premier League, Newcastle being one of them. But I think Manchester United can go toe-to-toe with Newcastle to get a player. I really do. And I think for players like that, we'd be able to put a package together and show a project where they'd want to come and join us. I mean, Cunha's liked stuff on Instagram hinting that he wants to come to United before as well. So there's a difference in the levels of where Manchester United can go. But we've got to be smart with it. And, you're not going to spend ridiculous amounts of money. It's like people laughed in my face when I said about Mateta. Mateta's got a year left on his deal and he's a good Premier League striker. Do I want Osimhen and Gyökeres? Yeah, they're my top options. Of course they are. They're the best. But Man United might not be able to pay what we need for them two players. And they're going to have a lot of clubs lining up to go and get them. You've got to kind of shop accordingly. But on the budget that we're on, there is quality Premier League players out there that we can get that would improve us for sure. Mbeumo's going to cost 50 mil plus. I was looking at Mbeumo's contract actually, and I think it is. Mbeumo's current contract with Brentford is set to expire in June 2026, but the club has an option to extend it until 2027, and he's reportedly valued at 40 to 50 million pounds. I think it'd probably cost you. They're gonna trigger it to extend it to 2027 probably, aren't they? So yeah, and Mbeumo I think is going to cost you at least 50 million. You are right. I think we can afford that. Someone's just put in the chat Eze. Eze's injury slightly put me off, but again, I think he's an underrated player. I'd prefer Mbeumo though. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Ryan Cherky, someone's got in the chat. He's someone that I keep seeing coming up. That would be of a smaller fee. That looks really promising as one of them number 10 roles. There is definitely options out there that Manchester United can go for, is what I'm trying to say. And I think it's going to be really exciting, rejuvenating them positions. And I get a lot of people are really reluctant to sell a Garnacho in the summer, but if you're telling me if we sell Garnacho, that means we've got Mbeumo starting for us next season. Come on, it's a no-brainer. Like, I don't want to sell Garnacho, but if we have to for money to get better players in, it's what I'm willing to do. Like, Mbeumo is just levels above. Cunha is levels above. Like, we need to be improving our team. We need to be improving our starting 11, and them two players would take us up. And there's other players out there that would take us up as well. You don't have to just shop in the Premier League, but United do need to shop in the Premier League more, and it's something we have missed out on. Anyway, that's my number 10 chat that I was going to save until the end of the show, but we got into it very, very quickly there because it's just so exciting. Like, it's an exciting position, it's a creative position, and it's a position that we're going to overhaul in the summer. And what was it that David Ornstein was saying, or Fabrizio Romano was saying, that the main 4 priorities that Manchester United are looking at as a striker, the number 10 roles, a midfielder to replace Casemiro, and a centre-back, the spine of the team, basically. If we get a striker and 1 or 2 number 10s, that's basically your whole attack being overhauled and rejuvenated. And I get there's other positions in the team that help the attack build, wing-backs being a massive part of that, and also that them deep-lying midfielders as well. Every part of it contributes. But if I look at Manchester United as a whole under Amorim, I think the defence has really improved. And I think our defence is pretty solid. We've had issues with injuries, which have been super unfortunate. But if you look at our back 3, you've got Mazraoui, who can play either side of the central centre-back. You've got De Ligt and Maguire, who can both play as a central centre-back. De Ligt can play on the right as well. De Ligt has just been a warrior. He's been gone under the radar in the Premier League. He's been fantastic. You've got Aiden Heaven, who hopefully is going to be okay and looks super promising. You've got Lenny Yoro, who has just been improving game after game, who looks really promising as well. And you've got Lisandro Martinez, who hopefully will be able to come back from injury. You've got some good centre-backs there. We probably do need one more just because of injuries, but centre-backs-wise, we're looking good. Wing-backs, you've got Dorgu, Dallo and Ahmad right now. I still think you need another wing-back, absolutely. Can't rely on Luke Shaw. Who knows what will happen with Harry Armas. Your midfielder, you absolutely need someone to replace Casemiro, 100%. But defensively, you're looking at it and we've got quite a strong base defensively, and our defence has been pretty good. I think it's been the highlight under Ruben Amorim. It's scoring goals that is massively cost us this season and massively hindered us. We've not been able to put the ball in the back of the net. Our attack is toothless, and we are not scoring enough goals, and that's the area of the pitch that massively does need investment. And of course, scoring goals, it's a whole team effort. The whole team's got to be functioning at the highest level. You've got to have them patterns of play. You've got to have your wing-backs bombing on, getting in the right positions. You've got to have your defenders pushing up and your midfielders, being able to carry the ball up the pitch. But our attack has just not been good enough at all. And I'm seeing people saying, oh, well, he's got potential, but he's got potential. We've got players that have potential. Hojlund's got potential, Garnacho's got potential, Xerxes got potential, but we need players now that are going to be able to score goals and compete at the highest level. And like Manchester United's attack, this is one of the worst attacks I've seen. I don't want to be negative because we've just come off the back of a really good win. And I do see some positives right now. I do see us improving. But our attack, we need some investment in that. And that does mean certain players are going to have to go and might have to get shifted on. And it can be unfortunate, but it's what we're going to have to do. It really is. Because it's something that needs addressing. Hojlund might go out on loan. That's another option that we could address. But Hojlund's been speaking, actually. And he's been speaking about what Amorim has wanted him to do. And he said, he, Amorim, wants me to stretch the pitch. I think that's quite obvious, and get me into the channels and keeping with the centre-backs occupied. That's what I'm trying to do, and I think I've got a good amount of speed, and that's what I'm here for. One of Hojlund's best attributes are his speed, and he can actually finish. He's been super low on confidence recently, so his finishing hasn't been what you'd expect when he has got them opportunities, because he has had opportunities. But Hojlund, based off what I've seen of him, if he gets a decent chance, he's going to score it. Like, he's clinical. He just doesn't get the chances enough, and he just doesn't get himself in the right position enough. And his speed of getting in behind, he can keep centre-backs on their toes. What he massively needs to improve is his strength. Even though he's strong, like, he just gets pushed to the floor. Sorry, even though he looks strong, he just gets pushed to the floor way too easily. We saw Calvin Bassey body him, then Cheeto came on and it was just completely different. And his hold-up play needs work, his touch needs work, absolutely. So Hojlund's 100% got levels that he needs to go up, and I think a loan would suit him if we're going to be able to do that, because, you know, if we only buy one striker in the summer, probably not going to afford to be able to send Hojlund out on loan, to be honest with you. He would have to be the understudy for the striker coming in. And I think we are only going to buy one striker because Xerxes going to drop into that number 10 position, I'm assuming, and I think that is what will happen. But Hojlund's best attributes is his speed, and if he just improves, instead of trying to always wrestle the defender, he needs to get hold of the art. He needs to come to terms with the art of, you know, holding a defender off, getting your first touch and turning. Like, Martial could do it very well. And I know a lot of people slandered Martial for other things, but you've got to be able to hold the defender off, take it down with a touch and spin. It's a really hard thing to be able to do, but your striker's got to be able to do it, especially if you're playing up front for Manchester United. And Hojlund just massively struggles with that part of the game. He's good at getting in behind, and if you give him an opportunity, he's probably going to hit the target. But there's so much of his game that he needs to improve, and Amorim will know that, and that's exactly why we need to be going for an experienced striker in the summer. He's weak, is what a lot of you guys are saying. Yeah, he needs to improve in that. It's weird though, because obviously I've seen him in person. You know, when Goldbridge did that interview with Hojlund, I was there, and you know, when I've met Rasmus and I've interviewed him before as well, like in the mix zones, he's massive, and like you can tell his physique. He's in top shape. Like, you would look at him and think you would be a problem for defenders, but I don't know what it is. Like, he needs to be working with the coaches on how to use his body correctly, because a lot of people think he's weak, but you look at him and he should be strong. Like, it doesn't process. So there's a lot of areas to improve, but that's where a loan could really come into clutch with Rasmus. But it's whether we'd be able to afford to do that in the summer. You could have a situation where Hojlund goes out on loan, you bring in that experienced striker who's going to lead the line for United, and you have him, you have Xerxes kind of switching between playing striker and number 10, and Obi comes on and takes that role of being a bit of an understudy as well, while Hojlund goes out there and gets some experience. But there is a player in there. He just needs a lot of work. He's super raw, Hojlund. He's super raw. But what we've got to remember is he's 22. As a striker, that is young, and he needs that development. He really does. And Man United have got to help him as much as they can with that. We put way too much pressure on him by giving him that number 9 shirt too early, in my opinion. But look, everyone, I am going to leave it there for the 2 p.m. Could talk all day long. I'm actually very, very positive going into the international break. I think we're dead on our feet. I think players need a rest. You know, Xerxes needs a rest. He looked dead even though he didn't start yesterday. Mazraoui, like Amorim's already said, he's absolutely dead. He's playing all the minutes. He's just been a warrior for us again this season. He's fasting on top of that. Like, his energy will be super low. I know there is players going out on international break, but the intensity of the football is not as high as what they're going to have to play at Manchester United at club level. And it gives us an opportunity to get some players back fit as well. Kobbie Mainoo's working on his fitness. Ahmad, there's some sort of hope that he might be, not after the international break, but could be coming back before the end of the season when we didn't think he could. Luke Shaw, Ruben Amorim's talked about returning. How long that'll last, who knows? You know, Mason Mount can keep up his recovery and hopefully keep himself fit. So we need them boosts. And Aiden Heaven will get some sort of update on him as well. Hopefully it's not as bad as it looked. The rumours is it's not as bad as it looked, but let's wait and see on that. So super positive. You wouldn't have thought that Manchester United have only lost 3 games in 2025. My producer, Greg, was telling me that when I came in, that we've only lost 3 games in 2025. Because the performances have been low, it feels like it's been more than that. But I think over the last few weeks, we have gained some momentum, and you can see that the players are adapting to this system, and we are looking better. Don't get me wrong, it's not anything to write home about, but it's small improvements and small wins. So hopefully we can build towards a big push at the end of the season and for all focus on that Europa League. But look, everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for all the positive comments as well. Dublin live show on Wednesday. I think there's some tickets left. If there is, click the link in the description, go and get them. I've just been planning my segment with Ricky. going in with the Bruno stuff and got loads of interactive stuff to bring the audience into as well, have your opinions heard. I'm so excited for that. And happy St Patrick's Day, speaking about Dublin and Ireland. Cannot wait to go and get a Guinness while I'm over there as well. So thank you for watching. Baby Guinness I like, you know, the little shots. Thank you for watching, everyone. Hit like on the video if you've not already. And yes, I will see you throughout the week.